I heard you signed on for more sequels. Is that just an internet rumor? It's an internet rumor. This will be all I'm going to do.
Oh.
We are here. We are at the meet. We're in the eye of the storm. The new boogeyman of Haddonfield. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm assuming it's just going to be Rob, or are they going to do like they normally do, where they kind of talk to different people, get sound bites from all kinds of people, and we'll see. Let me I'm going to need some zoom in on this because this is some pretty small print.
Right, yeah.
Here we go. The heated debate surrounding the spate.
That's a real word. Remember, we looked it up last week. They love this word.
No, that's why I'm boggled, because I was having deja vu.
Yeah.
Like, did they use the
Rue
same
Morgue
fucking
loves
word?
the word spate. Interesting.
All right. The spate of high-gloss Hollywood remakes of classic 70s and 80s horror films is as endless as the conveyor belt regularity of the movies themselves, and almost as monotonous. Though financially motivated big-budget opportunists are constantly raiding the back catalog of untouchable genre gems with the suspect motivation of reimagining them for a new generation, the real sore spot shouldn't be the fact that the remakes exist. If you worship at the altar of Romero's 78 Dawn of the Dead, for example, then 1,000 remakes and ripoffs shouldn't taint that passion play. What? Stop there for a second. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I just accept that some of these movies, it got to a point where it was a joke. I'm like, they're literally going to remake everything.
Well, after 04 Dawn of the Dead, I gave up on life when it came to remakes. I'm like,
but eventually, not only do I feel that about remakes, I feel that about sequels. It's like, yeah, I know they ran fucking Hellraiser through the mud. I know you could even say, I know a lot of people love Scream, but it even if you don't like all the Scream shit, it's not going to ever take away that I do think the first Scream movie is fantastic. It's not going to ever take the fact that they made Hellraiser Judgment isn't going to take away the fact that, you know what, Hellraiser 1 is fucking amazing.
It's like the point that I brought up in when I was talking about the new Night of the Living Dead remake or whatever, when the trailer that just came out. It's like, at this point, it's like Dracula, the original Dracula, when that came out. How many Dracula interpretations and sequels and spin-offs and stuff have been made since? It doesn't affect the fact that the original Dracula is still Dracula. But when you have an iconic film like that, it's just bound to happen. I'm sure somebody in 1950 was seeing all the new Dracula movies that were coming, and we're just like, oh, they're ruining the fucking original Dracula. It's like, you know, it's just it's par for the course. They've always done that. So,
no,
absolutely, that's a great point.
But it goes with anything to bring it full circle. Oh, sorry, I hit my own mic. I'm telling myself sorry. To bring it full circle, if you want, I can. Everything comes back around to Metallica for me.
Oh,
look,
God.
Even when Saint Anger comes out and Some Kind of Monsters, a documentary out, look. It could leave a sour taste in people's mouths what somebody's producing at the time, but it's not going to fucking make Master of Puppets or Ride the Lightning a bad record. It's not. It's you know, George Romero could have fucking just shit fucking bricks for the rest of his career, but it's not going to change the fact that he made Dawn of the Dead. It's just not. It doesn't matter, and it doesn't hurt. I don't think it takes a lot to shit on a legacy, you know, of such good shit. No matter who you are. I mean, you basically have to be Gary Glitter and fucking diddle children. Then your fucking legacy's kind of shit on and it's gone, right?
Hey,
you know, the fight song, it still kind of goes hard, right? No, that's what he said too, right? All right, where am I at? Let's get my bearings straight. In the case of such auteur-driven vehicles as Cronenberg's savagely intellectual version of The Fly, John Carpenter's own gooey take on The Thing, I like it, gooey, and Philip Kaufman's urban riff on Invasion of the Body Snatchers from '78, awesome movie as well.
Love it.
The remakes, in many ways, trump the originals, building on established themes and applying their directors' very personal obsessions and agendas to the films, making them stand out and take on lives of their own. Yeah, people were shitting all over these remakes in the early 2000s, but giving a pass to the movies they grew up with, like these 70s remakes, it's a little biased, right? But you're the exception, not the rule. You know what I mean? There's been some really good exceptions.
Earlier remakes are given the pass because there's still something. I don't know, there's still some passion behind those films. Whereas I feel like the remakes in the early 2000s and that whole period, it was just about studios saying, let's make money, and who gives a shit if it's good or not. Like, people are going to do this, like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake and shit, you know?
It was assembly.
Yeah.
It was assembly line shit. It was literally everything you can think of on the slate. I was blown away. Like certain movies, I kind of understood the remake. Oh, Friday the 13th. Okay, I get it. Nightmare on Elm Street. I get why they'd go there. When they did Black Christmas, I'm like, what? At the time, it felt like what? It felt
Yeah,
kind of
it was
obscure.
weird. Yeah,
It was weird, but now nothing was off the table, and it's like you have Hills Have Eyes, and also House of Wax. It just nothing was off the table anymore, and I don't know. It is what it is, man. So when Dimension Films announced last year that horror rock megastar, throwing that around a little loosely, right? Megastar.
He was
wasn't at the time,
huge,
I
man.
think.
When Sinister Urge and Hillbilly Deluxe, like Rob Zombie was fucking everywhere.
Hellbilly
Coming
Hell-
off
yeah.
of Devil's Rejects and House of Those. Yeah.
Hellbilly Deluxe was a triple platinum record. That was a big record, but he kind of peaked. You know, he kind of fell off after that. But anyway, whatever. Megastar. Where are we at? No, I like Rob Zombie. He's okay with me. Rob Zombie has been awarded the assignment of remaking Carpenter's definitive 78 indie slasher hit Halloween in theaters August 31st, guys. Don't forget it. Fan response wasn't nearly as vicious as it could have been. No matter your take on Zombie's previous forays into horror filmmaking, House of 1,000 Corpses, Devil's Rejects, there's no disputing the man's absolute devotion to the genre, nor can anyone deny that he has a creative language that is distinctly his own. Add to these films his musical career with pioneering monster metal outfit, White Zombie, and as a solo artist, his comic book collaborations with Steve Niles on Bigfoot and The Nail, and a recent stint as a horror host on TCM's Underground. Oh, God, I barely do remember that.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. And it's arguable. Yeah, I remember that. Like, I don't know if I ever watched it. I think I saw an ad for it. And a recent stint is, and it's arguable that no single modern artist has worked harder to drag lowbrow horror culture into the mainstream. I will give him that. I will give him, even more so than guys like Eli Roth. He was really shining a light on, he was, like you were saying, he was putting these older exploitation type actors in his films. He was bringing back like Bill Moseley.
Well,
from
even
the
his music, when you hear Living Dead Girl, and the opening sound of Living Dead Girl is the
samples.
Taken from the trailer from Last House on the Left. Like, most people, when they hear that, they hear, they think of Living Dead Girl, but it's like that's from Last House on the Left, the trailer from Last House on the Left.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he sampled Night of Living Dead and the not Astro Creep, Les Exorcisto, and but he used to do that all the time, and yeah, it's cool. I mean, dude, Sid Haig, the best thing that ever happened to him was guys like Rob Zombie coming into his life.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, he gave him a career. These cons, he gave him an iconic character to retire on, basically, and pretty much do it till the end. And Bill Moseley too. I think in the day of conventions, Bill Moseley would still be doing them off Chop Top and stuff like that, but he would not have.
He wouldn't be the draw. Yeah.
No, because he would not be a headliner like he is now. So yeah, good on Rob. Let's see. Rob truly does live and will no doubt die by the pop culture sword he swings so heavily. And yet the idea of this blend of Manson, Frankenstein's monster, and Jed Clampett being the man responsible for a relaunch of what is not only the most important mass killer movie of all time at its core, an elegant, restrained, almost minimalist thriller has upset more than a few purists, because Rob Zombie is anything but the minimalism thing. Thus far, Zombie, the director, has given us just two self-referential and admittedly somewhat pretentious, though extremely admired in many circles, cult throwbacks to 70s trap 'em and kill 'em schlock, featuring the kind of inbred goons that give Trailer Park Living a bad name. Yeah, you guys lay off. These loud, violent, completely mean-spirited feature-length rock videos have polarized horror fans everywhere. How can the filmmaker's sensibility be transplanted to the tale of the young, deeply disturbed Michael Myers and his evolution into the mask-wearing killer known as The Shape? According to the Hirsute filmmaker, that's a new word for me too. The Hirsute.
Never heard.
You guys know that word?
No.
All right.
Somebody had their thesaurus out this night. by simply starting anew, ignoring the dodgy sequels and creating. Well, no, he didn't ignore the dodgy sequels because Laurie is still the sister. This movie leaned heavily on the dynamic of, because he remade the first one, but he was using the lore
Yeah.
of the two onward, right? It was interesting. How can the filmmaker's sensibility be translated to blah, 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 blah? Yeah, ignoring the sequels, blah, blah, blah. Whether or not Zombie has succeeded in his ambitious pursuit, which features cult favorite Malcolm McDowell in the role of Dr. Loomis and the hulking 6'11" Tyler Mane as the Shape, is another question. Rue Morgue corners the always opinionated Zombie to flesh out our advanced look at the most talked about horror remake yet. It definitely probably was. This is probably the big one of the era of remakes for sure.
And I really liked Malcolm McDowell in this. I love him as an actor, and I thought he was a lot of fun in this film. The next film too. I mean, even though he's way over the top in the second film, he's a character to himself, man. He's just a lot of fun.
You know what's funny about Malcolm McDowell? I think I would think whenever I've seen him at conventions, he's not as big as a draw as I feel like he should be. I'm like, I get it. He's kind of like reverted to doing kind of schlock, but the guy's got Kubrick under his belt. Even Caligula, love it or hate it, it's a notorious film. Even like I said, Loomis and all this stuff. He's been in a lot of
Great
shit.
voice actor, dude. I don't know if he does voice acting, but
I'm sure he's done voice stuff, of course. But yeah, he's just whenever I've seen him, it's just not that big of a deal. I'm like, God, you worked with Kubrick, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not only a Kubrick, just an iconic, the Clockwork Orange and the fucking logo, and like that's you, man. It's just but Kubrick had a knack for working with people like Matthew Modine. Who gives a fuck about Matthew Modine? But he headlined a Kubrick film.
Yeah.
Right? He worked with kind of these guys sometimes. And anyway. All right. There's not really a reason to remake anything. It's almost because people say you shouldn't do it is why I have to do it. Oh, fuck. Get the fuck over yourself.
So this
is money.
Okay, here
all
it
right.
is.
It's like, oh, you said you weren't going to do remakes. So it's because you told yourself no. I can't let myself tell myself no. Just makes me want to do it. Zoom in a little bit.
Oh, yeah, it sounds like some political, I don't know. Yeah.
Backtracking. I got to look good. He's probably thinking, fuck, I really regret saying that shit in those interviews just a couple years ago because here I am taking the fucking bag.
He probably didn't know they throw Halloween at him. So
yeah, I know. That's very trying. For the record, is this a remake, a sequel, or both? It's definitely not a sequel. I hate all the terms. Reimagining, revisiting. It's my own take on Halloween. In the past, you said that you're not interested in remakes. What changed your mind? Good on you, Rue. Yeah, I did feel that way in the past, but a lot of money changed my mind.
But I got over it.
But I got over it. How'd you get over it? That's got to be the follow-up. I'd be like, how? Please elaborate. When I was approached to do this, I looked at it and thought I wanted to make the movie because I thought Michael Myers was a great character. It wasn't like when Christopher Lee became Dracula, where they were continuing Lugosi's Dracula. They were just doing it again with a different approach, which is kind of a fair take because kind of those 80s slashers are our generation's universal horror.
Yeah.
I don't know if enough time has passed to really feel that way in the big scope of things, but maybe in 50 years people will look at Michael Myers as, God, how many people have done this character at this point? And maybe eventually it'll be public domain. I don't know. I can't remember how many years it takes, but eventually
we probably won't be alive at that point.
Yeah, but eventually it will.
Yeah.
And it kind of is. It's definitely a challenge for you because it seems that at least 50%, at least 50% of horror fans are vehemently opposed to the idea of remaking Halloween. I think the only reason to get upset about a remake was if there was some kind of law that dictated that, okay, if a movie gets remade, then all of the copies of the original must now be destroyed. Then get upset. Fair enough. I always like the argument, guys, of people that remade films that it was a pass to remake this film because we could actually do it service now. Like maybe it was a film that wasn't perfect, but had a lot going for it, or it didn't get its due in its time, or the technology hadn't caught up with the ideas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like there's a justification there, but in my mind, it's like, to me, Halloween is kind of like Rob's take on the Psycho thing. even though it's not a 1-for-1 like the Psycho was. That was like, fucking, what the fuck are you doing? At least he did something different with it. But it's like Halloween there was nothing wrong with Halloween, in my opinion.
Could you imagine Rob Zombie doing a Psycho film?
I could.
I would hate it. I would hate it. It's like the complete opposite.
But it's also a matter of like they weren't doing these remakes because the studio saw the movie and was like, well, this is very flawed and shitty, and I think we can do it better. It was more of, hey, this movie made a shit ton of money. It's a proven franchise. It's a proven name we can make money off of. So let's do this again. And par for the course, that's what they've done again and again and again, you know.
And they needed to reboot it after they had to, like,
we have the license. We need to make more toys, and we need to make more T-shirts, and we need to strike while the iron's hot. Now, why they haven't done that with shit like, well, I guess they have here recently with Friday the 13th. I mean, we've seen the video game and some of the other stuff, but they haven't really done much movie-wise with it, which I think they are. But Nightmare on Elm Street's another example of something that I'm surprised that they haven't done more with.
Side note, what was that Apple Orchard?
Yeah, the Angry Orchard
thing,
yeah,
short film.
Angry Orchard.
They took that. Didn't they like scrub it? The film's not online anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I saw somebody talking to the director about it. I'm like, yeah, I get it. It was kind of like an advertisement, so maybe it was kind of that kind of thing is subject to happen. Who knows what happened? But I'm like, that's got to suck because everybody was talking about that fucking thing. It felt like every day for like a fucking month. Like, oh, Jason's return, kinda, and then it's just scrubbed like 2 months later.
Yeah, just think if you're the director of that short, I'd be kind of pissed.
Yeah, but I'm sure he got paid. But
still,
anyway, what's funny is, Todd, you said something interesting. Can you imagine Rob Zombie doing Psycho? The thing is I would have said the same thing about Halloween. I could have, before he made it, I would have never imagined Rob Zombie doing Halloween. But since he has, yeah, I can imagine Rob Zombie doing Psycho, because can you imagine if he did Psycho 2? We'd have Bill Moseley playing fucking Norman Bates, clean shaven Bill Moseley. We would have in part 2, you would have Sid Haig playing Dennis Franz as Mr. Toomey. It would just be injected with Rob Zombieisms, with really bad Rob Zombie dialect. You would have Joe Grizzly show up somewhere.
Well, and that's probably why I don't mind Rob Zombie's Halloween, because if Rob Zombie did Psycho, I would probably be very, very upset about it. Now, I mean, so I can maybe understand where some of these fans are coming from with Halloween.
How much money you want to bet Sherry Moon Zombie would be playing fucking Norma Bates in flashbacks and all kinds of shit?
That would be absolutely horrible. But I like Rob Zombie, but I don't want to see his take on Psycho.
Well, let's be real. He'd give it to Janet Leigh, right? The main, probably. She'd be Shower.
Yeah,
Shower
she'd
Woman.
be
She'd be Janet Leigh.
Janet Leigh, probably. Yeah.
We know, and it's fine. I don't think he's really like an actor's director, because clearly you can't tell me your wife just so happens to be the best person for the job in everything you do. That stuff has always been weird to me. I understand putting like your friends and stuff in supporting roles and bit parts, but he like puts her front and center, and I'm like, okay, he really doesn't care about the casting process. But that's fine. Not everybody does, and his thing is other stuff. But
yeah, he doesn't have like I mean, Psycho's a lot more about tension. It's more about thriller. It's more about,
and he would ruin that.
And
Halloween was like that too.
Yeah.
You would throw in Michael Berryman would show up talking about fucking chickens in his Psycho. You know,
but I mean, like I said, I don't have the love for Halloween that I do for Psycho, so that's probably why I think it's solid.
All right, let's see here. He's answering the question. I think the only reason to get up. Oh, I already said that. What's in it creatively for you? This is an interesting one. I'm not even attempting to take the original Halloween and make it better. I'm just doing my own thing, basically reinventing Myers as a different kind of monster. He forgot to add, I kind of have to do their fucking thing for the last half of the movie.
Yeah.
You know, like
much.
Which sucks because I think I would have liked what we already talked about earlier. If they could have avoided that. You seem to be interested in killers that dress up, so to speak. House of 1,000 Corpses and The Devil's Rejects are full of very charismatic murderers. Archetypically, what's so attractive about a killer who tries to present himself as a certain something as opposed to a human being who just kills other human beings, such as Norman Bates? I just love monsters, man. Whether it's Frankenstein, King Kong, or whatever, when I was a kid and we went to see horror movies, we didn't really refer to them as horror movies. They were just monster movies. While I love Psycho, I'm just much more into the kind of monsters that have a really memorable, enduring presence. People make a big deal about that mask. In the first film, the mask was just stolen from a store. From what I've seen in this movie, you've added a backstory about where the mask comes from. Well, yeah, some random redneck boyfriend comes in, he's got it.
Mhm.
That's the backstory.
Yeah.
Fantastic
Yeah.
backstory.
Yeah.
It's just like, I actually really hate how he injected the mask in this one. It's just kind of weird. Even though I love that line, "Come on, babe, I want to do it with a mask on."
We've all said that.
I've been there.
I always think of
We've all-
I always think
I
of
was about to
Mac.
say-
I always think of Mac when I hear that.
Mac was doing fucking like premium, not before OnlyFans. He was doing the premium Snapchat content where he's like fucking chicks with his Michael Myers mask.
Yeah, yeah.
I love you, Mac. You there?
Yeah.
Let's summon you.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so interesting. He says, I hate referencing the original because it makes it seem like if I talk about it and I change something that it means that I didn't like the movie. But there are things in Halloween that are kind of random. I thought, well, let's try and make things line up and have a reason why Michael has that mask. It's not just like, oh, he robbed a hardware store, so if they didn't have that mask, then he'd be wearing a Ronald Reagan mask because that's the one he stole. It's funny, too, how people analyze things now. People didn't analyze things so heavily when that movie came out. That's fair.
And I didn't.
But
I didn't mind the mask stuff in the beginning, like the paper masks and stuff. I think that was kind of interesting.
No, that his obsession with masks, but I always understood. I always thought it was confusing why the Michael Myers mask was so important to him, because I get it. You could say, "Oh, well, it was his first kill," but I'm like, no, not really. The clown was, because he killed the kid in the woods. Is it because that one's special because he killed his family? Maybe. It just seems like a bit of a stretch, but he knew enough to hide it in the floorboards with the knife and all that stuff. And I personally kind of like in the original movie how he just robs it from a
Well, the
hardware
mask
store.
was the mask
I
that the
think
Michael
if you're
Myers
just a
mask
fucking-
that he wears in the movie was the last mask that was the mask that he was wearing when he went and picked up Lori as a baby. Maybe that was like the last connection that he had to Lori. The last time that he saw her was that mask. I don't know. I like the I like the idea of, like, the little, when he's younger and he says, like, oh, I wear the mask because it covers my ugly face. Yeah, because I'm ugly.
I'm
It's
ugly.
Like, no, you're not
Yeah.
ugly. And I kind of like that about Halloween Ends too. People shit on Halloween Ends, but it kind of gives the mask a meaning and a backstory when the Corey Cunningham character starts wearing that mask everywhere to conceal himself from the public, so people don't know that it's him. That he wears it to that Halloween party, and as soon as he takes it off, he's demonized and by everybody there. And it's just like, okay, so I kind of get it, why it's telling you why Michael Myers wears this mask without being so blunt about it. I don't know. I always kind of like that.
No, I like the psychology behind it, but I didn't know what the obsession was with that mask. But maybe it makes sense. Maybe it's like, maybe it doesn't have to be about the clown. Like Robert says, that the killing the kid in the woods, that was a really cool scene. That was a really cool scene. That's why I wanted more of that. Just give me 90 minutes of that story and give us kind of more of that creepy stuff. They could have done so much with it, but I get it. If you got arrested that night or whatever, maybe he was pining for that mask all the time, right? Like, that's the one I want. That's the one that that was the night that changed his life. All that stuff. And yeah, whatever. I'm overthinking it, but they still should have never put that comically huge mask on that. It looked like Easter Island, dude.
Yeah,
it's just like
I agree. It doesn't really need a backstory.
All right,
but, in this day and age where everything has to have a backstory,
because if
people question it to death, it's like I get
it. Because I really do just like the idea, like, if he's really just fucking batshit crazy and he's just pure evil and he's devoid of any fucking morals, yeah, I can buy him just picking up a fucking mask off the shelf and just fuck it. I love it. I like that too. But they're both good. Yeah. Let's see. That's the new IMDb age horror fan for you. IMDb age. Man, we had a test screening the other night, which actually went really well, but I was sitting in the focus group with the focus group. It's very bizarre because the way they analyze and pick at something, it becomes so insane. But they forgot, if you look at the first movie, there's stuff that doesn't probably, yeah. I mean, he removed Michael driving in this because everybody. That's the big thing in the first Halloween. It's like, how did Michael learn to drive? And Michael doesn't drive a car in this movie anywhere. Oh wait, Big Joe Did he drive Big Joe Grizzly's truck? No. He just takes he just takes the suit.
Takes the suit, yeah.
I don't know how he gets there, honestly. He just happens to be there. He just gets to Haddonfield somehow.
But I like that. I think that's more. I think it's but that's better though. That's totally fine. We don't have to see that. It was silly, like how
maybe somebody gave him lessons.
In part two, where he's walking through like random fields or whatever, and during like across farms and stuff like that, it's a little ridiculous.
He's like, it happens. What shit? Sometimes he's like all hairy and shit, like Forrest Gump, just like traversing the country. All right, go ahead and zoom in a little bit.
All right.
Me. Why? Yeah. Okay. Here he goes. He calls it out. Didn't make sense. Why would he drive? How does he fucking know how to drive? And for Loomis to stop and make a phone call on a 100-mile stretch at exactly the place where Michael dumped his hospital gown, that's funny. And he finds a matchbook, and Michael robs a hardware store in the middle of the day, and the alarm is still going at 2:00 in the afternoon. LOL, what? No one's there? There's also a scene in that movie where a little kid runs into Michael, and he's wearing the white mask, but he hasn't even stolen it yet. And you get into the focus group and analyze all these tiny little details. It's like, come on, buddy. Okay, hold on. I have something to say. Why are we assuming that he was wearing the mask when the kid runs into him? He could have just been fucking a creepy dude with the crazy look in his eyes.
If you pause it for a split second, as soon as the kid runs into him, you can see at the top of the frame, you can slightly see the mask.
Oh, well, then that's just a continuity thing in the editing. They probably thought, we can get away with it.
We have $250,000 Like, just use your imagination.
I hope Rob doesn't have any continuity errors in his films.
Yeah. Well, after reading this paragraph, I'm like, God, no wonder John Carpenter fucking hates your movie and you.
John Carpenter read this article and was like,
fucking
fuck this guy. Lit up a joint as he was reading it.
Like, did your fucking indie classic House of a Thousand Corpses make as much money as mine? No, it did not. Anyway, slasher films have been scary for a long time. What's the key to making Michael Myers frightening again? I think the key is I'm really not a fan of all the Halloween sequels. I think they fell into the 80s slasher movie vibe, which I was never really into. These days, I don't really know what makes anyone scared. You get bombarded by so much stuff, but I thought the key was to make it more real and to make it more gritty and gnarly. Those movies seem really glossy, and they became very much about teens. They didn't care. They didn't seem like they had a scary vibe to them anymore. And I don't want to take the Carpenter approach. His thing was like, don't show a lot. Make it suspenseful like Hitchcock. And that's exactly what he did. That's what he does. But that's not really what I do. I mean, that's pretty much Rob Zombie in a nutshell. You know? And that was what was selling in the early 2000s, that first decade. From all the remakes they were doing, right? The Amityville Horror remake with Ryan Reynolds, and it was all about, hey, all these old movies, they were boring to people now. Let's show you everything.
But that's one thing I don't like about this Rob Zombie Halloween, this one, 2007. I think it is a little bit, it's not as gritty as the second one. The second one is very raw, gritty, and of course, a lot more mean-spirited, a lot more gory. And it feels like more of a Rob Zombie movie to me. So I don't know if that was the studio, having something to do with that. But even though, part 2 isn't very good.
Well, the original Halloween...
there was some...
Sorry. The original Halloween...
Oh, no.
I was going to say, the original Halloween, people always categorize it as a slasher. It's not a slasher at all. Like, there's hardly any slashing in it. It's more of a stalker movie. And then when he kills, it's like very quick, not very graphic, other than, stabbing the guy up against the wall. But, there's not a lot of slashing in that movie. So it's more of a stalker movie. They made it more of a slasher later on, whereas Rob Zombies are like, all right, I'm going to stab this guy 100 times. Like, just stab the fuck out of people. Like, that was Rob Zombie's take. Like, in how...
And Aaron talked. No, Aaron was talking about this, like, the fact that he's grunting in part, like, it's ridiculous, and I'm totally with him now. Like, listening to that, like, listening to him do that, and then seeing, of course, maskless at the end of the film, like, Tyler
Was it
May,
the director's cut?
or
Die! Where he's talking.
it is terrible, man. It just takes you right out of the film. It's
We turned Michael Myers to an abused child with daddy issues that just hates the world and want to watch the.
Yeah, if
He's
you're
got
making
motive.
if you're
He
making
fucking
Michael
wants to
Myers
watch
more
the
of a
world.
human character, though, which is what I think Rob Zombie was kind of going for. I mean, yeah, I mean, he would make noise. He you know, he he wouldn't just be like. That's the thing that I hated about Dick Warlock's representation of Michael Myers in Halloween 2. He just turned into a robot that literally just like walked upright. Like he looked like, the Terminator or something. It's like he became literally not human at all. Whereas Rob Zombie's Michael Myers was like, yeah, he's just a human giant psychopath. Like, so, the grunting and the screaming and
My
shit never bothered me really, but 'cause it was a different take on it.
my first introduction my first introduction to Michael Myers was Dick Warlock, and I it does it for me. I love the Dick Warlock performance. I like what everything you said was as a dig. I'm like, I
Well, it was
love
just
that.
so
I
different
loved him
than what
as
Nick
being
Castle did. Like,
robotic
even
and
in the original, Nick Castle plays him as just
yeah,
a guy. Like, his movements aren't
yeah.
stiff and motory.
Yeah, like when he
Yeah,
takes off the mask and it's Tony Moran
it's
comes
just a
out like
it's just a
strangling her
guy.
and
Whereas in
yeah.
Halloween 2, all of a sudden he's just like this like slow like robot almost. Like he's totally Yul Brynner in
It
Westworld.
it was in 2 it was in 2 where he like suddenly developed transportation powers. That whole thing of like, how is he right behind me and he's
Yeah,
walking like 2
yeah.
miles an hour, and he was always around the corner. But I don't know. I think that became the fucking mythos of Michael from 2 that they
And
just kind of kept. But
but that just never worked as well
yeah,
for
I
me
don't know.
as
It
opposed
is
to
what it
just
is.
like in the original and in Rob Zombies to a point where it's just like, yeah, it's just a guy in a mask that's got some real fucking issues. And like, we don't really know that the shape in the original Halloween is, you know, more than human. Like, we hear Loomis talking about him through the whole film, but we just think like Loomis is probably just as wacky as anybody else in this movie. Like, he's like, oh, it's just a guy in a mask. Like, there's nothing supernatural about this guy until he gets shot 6 times, falls out of the window, and then all of a sudden he's gone, and that's how the movie ends. And I think that's the scary thing about him. Whereas, like, by the time Halloween 2 rolls around and all the sequels, it's like we all know he's kind of like Jason. It's like, yeah, you can't kill this guy. It's like he's just, a robot at this point.
So you're not going to keep the film in the tradition of the suspenseful atmospheric slasher? Are you adding more gore? I never really was a fan of super gory stuff like heads getting chopped off or eyeballs popping out of people's heads or things that are super extreme. For me, as soon as things become that extreme, it almost becomes like a cartoon. Whoa,
well,
hold up,
wait,
fucking
wait,
Rob
wait,
Zombie.
wait.
What?
Yeah, he cut the guy's head off in part 2, and he was when he throw it down the street or whatever.
Dude, are you trying to tell me that fucking Ken Foray's little whorehouse is not a fucking cast of cartoons in Devil's Rejects? Like they're all fucking cartoon characters. Everything he does is a cartoon.
Well,
I
because
thought about fucking me a chicken.
well, because he grew up in the carny
Yeah.
circuit, right? So,
But it's the fact that he's saying this. It's the fact that he's saying this becomes like a cartoon. Captain Spaulding is not a fucking cartoon character. Give me a break. All right, scroll down just a little bit. It becomes gross and funny and kind of ridiculous. All right. But I do think you can make it very violent and intense without showing that much. Some of the most intense scenes that people who have seen the films have mentioned, there's hardly anything gory to be seen in it. It's just that the actors are really selling what's going on. Yeah, I
yeah,
kind of feel that way.
it's not very
The kid in the
gory.
wood, the kid in the woods. I just expect like I misremembered. Like, oh, he totally bashes his head in because that's a Rob Zombie thing. Like, no, he doesn't. He doesn't bash his head in, his skull. He just kind of beats him with a stick. And the kid's selling it so well. And there's that little bit of they slow down like half the frames when he puts the mask back on. Oh, and he gives him the last. They don't really show you that much. Yeah. There's a moment with Annie, Daniel Harris's character. It's not really that he's doing anything to her. It's the way she's crying and whimpering. It's hard to watch because it seems real. It's not like insert of Spike goes through someone's head where the whole movie stops for an insert. I don't like that. By the way, I got to direct her tits for like 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle, no, we can't put the shirt back on just yet. Back to all right. Back to those sequels you mentioned. Over 8 movies, the Michael Myers mythology has developed to include things such as secret Celtic cults. Are you incorporating any of that existing mythology? I don't care about any of that stuff. That's a good answer.
Did we do
He
the one up top, the music of Halloween?
go up. Where did I see
Right
it? Miss
here.
it?
The music of Halloween is hugely
Or right above it.
Where?
right here. Right above it.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Okay.
To be fair, I think I can read all this stuff out of sequence. It's not really like
No,
leading
I
into
was just yeah.
No, yeah, I totally missed it. The music of Halloween is hugely emblematic. How are you going to approach the music with your film? 2 ways. We're using new stuff and pieces of the old stuff whenever it's appropriate. Certain times it works really good and certain times it doesn't. Nothing concerning this movie have I been taking lightly. Everything is a fine line at all times between trying to deliver something fresh and new that people can get excited about while trying to hold on to enough classic pieces so that it retains the vibe why you probably liked it in the first place. I feel like whenever the Halloween stuff comes in, the music, it's a little out of place.
Yeah, he didn't collab with Carpenter at all, did he?
No, but no, he didn't. It seems like, but it just seems out of place. Whenever they do shove it, it just seems like fan service. Whereas the original film, those motifs were all throughout the score. So it seems odd when they show up. But it seems like you're focusing a lot on Myers' early years instead. If there's a reason to remake this, wait, as soon as you say that, it sounds wrong. There's not really any reason to remake anything. It's almost because people say you shouldn't do it is why I have to do it. But there was one thing that I thought you could do, which was Donald Pleasance is always talking about things that Myers did, but you never see it. Rather than a POV through a clown mask and Deborah Hill's hand waving in front of the camera, suddenly there's a kid that never talks again. I thought, why don't we go through it all and it becomes this intense experience? I swear to God, if I didn't tell you what this movie was and you watched the first hour of it, you wouldn't know what it was.
I think that's
a
fair.
fair
Yeah.
assessment as well. It's just too bad, God, that they fucking had to shoehorn that bullshit in. It appears you've changed Michael's entire family life. Yeah, I sort of made him a redneck. You know, I kind of put the old
She's got
Rob
a hell
Zombie
of a
spice
dumper
on
on
it.
her, I tell you what.
She's a stripper. Fucking shit, dude. Yeah, I made him sort of like a normal kid. Oh, well, actually, made for me. I grew up in them parts. People always say, "What I think is scary." Go up. Oh, did it continue?
Oh, it's like
Continues on another page.
What is this? At home with the masked killer.
Yeah,
is this a different story? Oh, this is more like a COD. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this guy wants to keep the money and keep the shit in his, whatever. Good for him. What? Ooh, this is the guy that brought us the best sequels, by the way. I don't really have any love for Maleka Cod.
Escape from Haddonfield. Halloween Revisited. I've never even seen
these are like
these.
these are the
I don't even
fan
know what they
films,
are.
right?
Doxed.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Would you ever make a Dawn of the Dead fan film, Alpha?
Well, I did when I was
Funny you should say.
I did when I was
Oh, you
younger.
did?
Yeah, we actually
Okay.
shot at our local mall and was actually going around like taking things out of the stores, but like they knew us, so we would just be like, "Yeah, we'll bring it back," and they're like, "All right, cool." So I did that when I was younger, but then I've always had this idea for a Dawn of the Dead prequel, which would just be like a
1.5, like in between.
it's like
night
who are
and
these
dawn.
characters? What are their backstories? Like it would focus on the relationships and where the main characters came from at the beginning of the going into the beginning of the. But it would just be, to me, like my idea was always it was just going to be called like One Dawn at a time. It would be like kind of a soap opera more than a horror story because it's just.
I like
nobody would be.
Yeah, that's pretty. I would be afraid. I'd be afraid of like the easy fucking reviews. Yawn of the Dead. Oh no! I just
like I'm more like I'd be more
in
interested in finding out like, I want to find out more about Roger's backstory. Was he in Vietnam? Does he have PTSD? Why did his marriage fail? How did Fran and Steven meet? Like I'd be more interested in that shit, like building up into the movie as opposed to like anything to do with zombies. Like my Dawn prequel would have nothing to do with zombies at all.
Oh wow!
I want a movie about Wooly, and I want Rob Zombie to
He'd be
direct it.
perfect for it. He'd be perfect for that.
Well, like I said, dude, I think if you gave me 90 minutes based around like that complex, that Puerto Rican complex neighborhood, dude, that
That
shit,
would be
I love
that'd
that.
be
Just give me
interesting to
90
see
minutes
how
of
that
that.
all went down. Yeah, that's actually kind of an interesting idea. Is like how they kept all the bodies in the basement and one by one, how'd they get them down there, and who are those people down there?
There was so many people during Dawn of the Dead that were having their mall somewhere else in
Mm-hmm.
a different setting and stuff like that. There's just so much you could have done because that's the coolest period of all of it. But okay, okay, here's where it's continued. Malcolm McDowell steps into the trench coat. Okay, he's a normal kid from a regular family? Okay, here we are. And I'm like, why is that scary? You're just saying that because that's what they did in the original movie. Now, if he was the son of a fucking monkey tamer in a zoo, they'd say, I think it's scary because he's the son of a fucking monkey tamer in a zoo. People keep saying, I think it should be this way because that's what they saw. I made them normal, but not like rich, clean suburbia normal. I thought what was better was to make it more like the life I remember. A little more lower middle class. It's not like hillbillies or any of that shit that people like to say. He's a normal kid that you'll see and you'll go, oh, that reminds me of me and every fucking kid I went to school with. To me, the perfect family gone bad is like, man, whatever. I mean, I feel attacked by that quote, first of all. And like, I grew up in elementary school in Kentucky and people had the rat tails.
Yeah.
And yeah, they probably all went home to
Well, it's
Michelle My Belle. Dude, my dad taunted me with Michelle My
yeah.
Belle type names too.
Mm.
I relate
It's funny
too
that
much to it. I gotta be honest with
William
you.
Forsythe character Ronnie, like I dated a girl whose dad was exactly like him, like sounded like him and
Wow.
Yeah.
everything. So yeah, it kind of
Collecting
and
his checks and just
you'd walk into his
was
house
he
and the
like
first
that
thing
too?
he'd do is just bitch about something, find something about you to fucking call out. Yeah, like just like
Oh,
it's a fucking rat, man. Like, what the fuck are you doing with that? Like he was just, yeah. So the people out there like that actually exist, especially in Kentucky.
Why did you choose Malcolm McDowell for the Loomis role? It was hard to find people that I thought would fit the bill because everybody's like, nobody can replace Donald Pleasance. How many horror fans keep saying that they were huge Donald Pleasance fans before Halloween? Like, did they ever even hear of Donald Pleasance before Halloween? And Malcolm seemed perfect. He's got this presence and this charisma that's different than Donald Pleasance because you don't want to have somebody that looks like Donald Pleasance imitating Donald Pleasance. That just seems stupid.
I agree with him. Yeah.
Malcolm was friends with Donald, so he didn't want to imitate him. Malcolm's never even seen Halloween. Wow. Todd, if you were my friend, in that fucking fairy tale where you might be my friend, if you made Halloween, I think I'd have to watch it. I get it, you're in the industry, it's different. You're in the industry and watch it, but like, I don't know, man. If you fucking did Halloween, I'm like, I'll give it a spin. All right. What? He's never seen it. That's the other funny thing is in making this movie. When you listen to the horror fans, they seem to think that every person on planet Earth has seen Halloween. I never really thought about it, but it's amazing how many people haven't seen it.
Hmm.
I just think it's interesting, industry because I know a lot of industry people that just they talk about not wanting to watch movies. Like they do it for their day job. The last thing they want to do to decompress is watch movies or TV, and they do other shit.
Oh, I get
It's like
it.
I read, I bird watch. Modern day, they play video games. Like I do, spend all day on fucking set traveling for work. I don't want to watch movies, so it doesn't surprise me. What do we agree? Agree. Malcolm did a good job. He's the perfect replacement. Have you made him watch it? No, I told him not to watch it. You got to think that Donald Pleasance wasn't imitating somebody. It's amazing how many times McDowell would sort of do things that were kind of similar without knowing it. He plays him differently. He plays him a little more like you're not really sure if Dr. Loomis is trying to help Michael or turns a corner where he's trying to exploit Michael. There's an element we play off a little bit with someone like, say, a Vincent Bugliosi, who's just a who's just a prosecutor until he gets the Manson case. Okay, I guess that's that is. Then he's a fucking superstar. And that would be kind of the thing here with Dr. Loomis. He's just some fucking child psychologist till he hits the mother low with the Michael Myers. He looks really silly. They do that thing where to show him 15 years in the
Yeah.
past,
Just
he's
the
got
hair.
long hair
Yeah.
and the fucking glasses.
Oh, it's funny.
Looks really sick. He's even
It's funny.
coming
He
in
really
with like a
plays
little
into that
swagger.
in him too. That's pretty much the Loomis character. He's just,
Too.
you know, yeah.
He's a douchebag. Yeah, he totally goes full bore on it. He's like the fucking
Yeah, pretty much.
Gale
yeah.
Weathers. You know, where are my peeps at? Guys, come in here.
Don't say scream 3 times.
All right, death has come to your little town, Sheriff. Oh, sorry, I missed the top. In the original movie, Loomis sees Michael as the embodiment of evil. He seems like he's a little nuts himself. Yeah, Donald Pleasance plays Loomis as if he's just as much of a kook as Michael Myers, running around like a maniac, screaming all the time. Is it him? Yeah, he really does. Death has come for your little town, Sheriff. I love that. I love that quote. Yeah, he's pretty scary himself. That's why in going through the early days of Michael, you can explain Loomis and Michael better. We can see he just doesn't kill and never talk again. He sort of spirals downward further into the untalking Michael Myers. It's kind of hard to rework a character in which we don't see his face and he never speaks. How interesting will that be? LOL. I think they heap so much craziness on those sequels trying to keep the franchise alive that the only way to do it was to go, okay, let's just start over. I heard you signed on for more sequels. Is that just an internet rumor? It's an internet rumor. This will be all I'm gonna do.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
quote
there you
right
go.
there, right?
Never say never. It really didn't. They literally pumped out this movie 1 year later. So
Yeah.
literally probably that fucking week, dude, he got a phone call.
Yeah.
No, I'm
as
sure it
soon
was
as that
opening
movie
weekend.
opened with 50,
Like, hey,
what was it? It set the
20,
record. Yeah, it set the
20
record
yeah, it was a lot of money.
for what for that weekend for any movie ever as for an opening
Yeah.
weekend. So I'm sure as soon as that happened, they were already poking around.
Part 2. Oh, Malcolm McDowell's crazy. Yeah, he just kind of turns
Yeah.
into like a exploitation asshole. Yeah, like Gale Weathers. He's insane. Are you happy with their contribution to the Halloween universe? I think it's fucking awesome. This was a big challenge for me, and like you already said, Myers hasn't seemed scary in the slightest since like 1978. That movie seemed badass when it came out. I loved it. I still love it. But over the years, he became like Mickey Mouse or something. He's just this thing that you see and it's not scary, and people love him like Freddy, but he's not just scary anymore. He's just not scary anymore. And the new version of him is pretty intense. I don't know. I think it's just like, why do they all have to be big hulking fucking oafs, dude? I kind of liked
Yeah.
Michael that he wasn't like a big dude.
Yeah.
He kind of went the Jason route where Jason kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's like
He was a
know.
ghost, man. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, fuck. I keep calling it before the next article. Yeah. He's much bigger physically, more like Kane Hodder. Damn. He makes Kane Hodder look like a midget. Tyler is like 6'11". Kane Hodder's not that big.
No,
Kane Hodder's actually, he's not very tall.
5'9".
He's a chode.
He's a stout dude, but I was thinking more like Freddy. I was thinking more like Freddy versus Jason, but yeah, he's huge. The funny thing is, the kid I cast as young Mike Myers is huge. He's only 10 years old, but he's like this big kid. It totally seemed like that's what he would grow up to be. To me, I liked it, not because I wanted it to be this giant raging Hulk guy. You know, people say, what's scary is that he's a normal sized guy. I did, you asshole. I just fucking said that. Since when is a normal sized guy scary? Why is that scary? That's not scary to me. Tyler's not really that bulky. He's actually really kind of tall and thin, but it just makes the thing he's doing look real. That's what I thought you could make him scary again. That he's big enough that, yeah, you could grab him and he could lift you off your feet and kill you, but not if you're the same size as him. I didn't want to be doing that sort of supernatural tricks. He seems extra big because the girls are so small. He calls me out, dude. It's just,
you're talking to Rob.
I know. Truthfully, has making this movie been tough for you? This has been a crazy one. At first, there was a ton of people that I met, or even people I know, who were very anti me making this. Then they start seeing footage and they're like, fuck, dude, that donut fucking scene, you might be on to something here, man. I apologize for like everything I said. Dude, that looks fucking badass. So they've been getting one over. I look at them and think, were you happy with Halloween Resurrection? Like, did that make your day? You want more of that? with a stunt guy walking around in a cheapo mask that they bought at a drugstore? Not really. Yeah, me neither.
That's
I
my
don't know.
whole thing. It's like,
Yeah. Okay.
whether you like the movie or not, he did something different with it. It has a different flavor. He took it and did his own thing with it. Whereas, like, the Halloween sequels are, like, by and large, pretty fucking awful. Like, they're like I know people look back on them probably with more nostalgic glasses and stuff, but it's like those movies are not good. It's not like he came in and, just screwed up the franchise. I mean, that franchise had been all over the place at that point. They'd made him, like, part of a cult, and he had a sister. He doesn't have a sister, and then all of a sudden,
Jamie Lee
he's
Curtis
getting
is dead. Wait, she's alive
he's getting
again.
drop
Wait,
kicked
she's
by
dead.
Busta Rhymes. Like, well, like at that point, it's like, what could you do with this character to make him even remotely interesting? And it's like, well, at least he tried something different.
I want to give a special thanks to our YouTube members and our patrons. If you haven't joined yet and would like to, click the link below this video and gain access to hours of bonus content. What are you waiting for?